One of the most requested videos for Patriot Training YouTube channel has been information on the rucksack. How to pack it, what do you pack, how come, that sort of thing. Well, my friends, today is your day. This is the video. Hang tight. Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I'm the owner and head firearms instructor at Patriot Training. The topic of today's video is your rucksack. What should you put in it? Why? How come? Let's answer all of those questions for you and more. Stay tuned. Let's check it out. First, when we're talking about rucksacks, bug-out bags, things of that sort, let's eliminate the fantasy. I saw a video very recently from another YouTube channel where they talked about so many people having the fantasy that they are going to bug out with their bag and they're going to just live out of their bag the rest of their life. And that is a fiction that makes for a really popular movie, and yet just like most things that are popular in movies, it doesn't happen very often in real life. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way first and foremost. That's probably not going to happen. Now, that said, as a human being, is there a chance that you might need a bailout bag? You might need to move from your place to some other place for a period of time, be it short or maybe even extended. Possibly. That's happened a lot over the course of human history. Is it possible that maybe you are away from home? I used to travel a lot, and I would keep in my car a get-home bag, if you will. And is it possible that circumstances could dictate that you need to get back home and you don't have your primary vehicle to do so, or you need additional supplies to do so? Yes, that's entirely likely, and I think it's wise to prepare like that. You should prepare for urban and rural types of environments. Is it possible that some kind of calamity strikes, and during that time of perhaps lawlessness or something out of the ordinary as far as civility is concerned, is it possible that during that time you need to go from point A to point B for some reason? The answer is almost assuredly. Human history is absolutely replete with multiple examples of people needing to do just exactly that. So for that reason, I recommend a good bug-out bag. For a civilian, in a time of calamity, there are several reasons you might want to go from point A to point B. The military would call these patrols. They can be done on foot, they can be done in a vehicle, doesn't really matter. But for civilian purposes, there are several kind of patrols that would apply, and I could see a need for a security patrol. Could definitely see a need for a recon patrol. I could absolutely see a need for a contact patrol, the definition of which is to establish and or maintain contact or communications, if you will, either with a friendly element or an enemy element. And that could be either from negotiations all the way down to, outright combat against, another element. It just depends. Also, somewhere down the line, there is a distinct possibility that a civilian might need to take part in something like a raid or an ambush, which is a patrol-based operation as well. And I would say for your patrol, your rucksack is going to need a minimum amount of equipment, and you're going to need a minimum amount of skill to use that equipment. And that equipment is going to take, from my perception, it's going to take three major roles. You're going to need the basics, I call those the 10 C's. You're going to need personal needs items, and then the third thing you're going to need is mission-specific gear. What kind of packs should you get? Well, I recommend, just like with everything else, there's no one tool that solves all the world's problems, so you might need more than one. I have three and really could combine it down to two if I wanted. My primary patrol pack is the Helicon Tex EDC Lite. This is a 21-liter bag. For longer patrols, such as a recon patrol or something like that, I have a 511 Rush 24 pack. That is a 37-liter pack. I also have a Kelty MAP 3500 pack, and that is also a 37-liter pack. The Kelty happens to have an internal frame, and that It also has an optional belt to go around the waist, and that can really make that pack exceptionally comfortable for carrying larger amounts of items over a longer period. If the Kelty had more MOLLE attachment on it, and if it also had an option to come in M81 woodland camo, it would be, in my estimation, the ultimate pack. There would be nothing better. In addition to storing those 3 categories of items that we mentioned earlier, tools, whatnot, a patrol pack can also be used to help you build a shelter, help you rest your rifle for a precise shot at a longer range, or any other number of things. Nevertheless, the primary use is that you want to be able to carry the items that you need to survive, or the items that make life much more convenient, much more comfortable. Needed items. Let's talk about the 10 C's. The 10 C's are a list of absolute necessities that one needs to survive. And as an individual civilian, we need to keep survival at the forefront of our mind anytime we have a pack, whether we're going on a patrol or not. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, nobody is coming to save us. We've got to be that savior for ourselves, and so we've got to be responsible for absolutely everything. That being said, the items that many survivalists point to, the very famous list, the 10 C's, and there is a little bit of liberty taken with some of these C's, and that's okay. We'll go ahead and explain some of them as we go along. But my caveat to you, my friends, is this. The 10 C's, those items are good. They're absolutely necessary. However, if you don't have the skills to use them, all of that is in vain. There's no reason for you to learn how to start a fire the moment you need to know how to start a fire. That is too late, okay? So all of these items, you need to be very familiar with them. You need to be very well trained and very well practiced in the use of each of these 10 things, or else they're not going to help you one bit. The first thing that you need is you are going to need some sort of cutting tool. You can see here I have a Gerber fixed blade knife. You want a fixed blade cutting tool if at all possible because of the tensile strength. You want a full tang if at all possible. If you don't know what those things mean, look it up. It's very important. A cutting tool, a knife, is absolutely critical. The next thing you're going to need is some kind of a combustion tool. Combustion. And in order to instigate combustion, fire starter, if you will, in my patrol pack, I have a small container, and it's waterproof so that water doesn't get in. And also, because I carry lighters, I want to make sure that if somehow that button gets depressed, the lighter fluid gets contained inside of here instead of soiling all the other items in my pack. In addition, you can see that I also have a very small ferro rod to go along with it, and that is one of those items that, although not an ideal ferro rod, I certainly keep a backup in reserve in my bigger packs, and I have a duplicate of many of these items, and that item just basically is to help it make it easier to start fires. In addition to that, in my larger packs, I also carry a magnifying glass so I can use a bundle of kindling, maybe a bird's nest that the survivalists build. I can build one of those and maybe use a magnifying glass, use a focused sunbeam in order to start the fire and save these expendable items, save one more use of them. So that's another thing that I carry, is some kind of a magnifying glass so that I can start a fire that way, and I carry that in my bigger bag. Next thing that we're going to want is a cover for warmth. And when it comes to a cover for warmth, I've got several layers in here. The first one that I want to talk about is the standard military issue Whoobie. That's a blankie! Yes, Cletus, it looks a lot like a blankie. However, millions of our service members swear by them. I do too. If you don't have a Whoobie with you when you're on patrol, I don't know if we can go on patrol together. Just that simple. The Whoobie not only can provide warmth when the temperatures drop, it provides the added benefit of adding bulk to your pack without a lot of weight. And for somebody like myself who likes to use the pack as a rest in order to stabilize the shot of my rifle, having bulk without a lot of extra weight is absolutely invaluable. It's very, very necessary, very, very needed. It makes shooting longer distances much, much easier when I have that option. In addition to that, in terms of cover, I have a U.S. Army issue poncho, rain jacket. When I double the wooby and then the poncho over it, plus proper cold weather gear, I can get down below freezing, take a nap. And I tell you one more thing that makes that easy. If I already know it's cold out, I might be using my M65 field jacket, and I will stay toasty warm even if temperatures drop below freezing in just that, plus appropriate weather gear, and I don't have to pack much else, and that makes it really, really convenient. The next thing you need to bring is a container, something to store and boil water. You can see this is my Pathfinder brand canteen, and that is a single wall steel canteen. And the reason I advocate something like that is I could put that over a fire to boil water. Of course, you'd want to take your lid off. Versus your typical tumbler, that's a double wall steel, and that's going to crack, that's going to break, that's going to be ineffective. It's not going to do what you need it to do. Get a single wall canteen. The more you cook on it, the more it will discolor and burn from the flames, and that's good. That's character. You can see mine hasn't done that a lot. I haven't cooked using this a whole awful lot, so I need to get out there and use this particular gear in that regard some more, definitely. That particular canteen also comes with a cup which can be put over a fire, and it comes with a lid for the cup as well. You can make coffee, you can cook food, you can boil water, you can do all of those sorts of things in this canteen. And very often if I'm on a patrol that is going to last more than just a couple hours, something other than just a standard security patrol, I might carry two canteens. I'll carry the steel, and then I might have another one that's a Nalgene water bottle, something of that sort. The next thing you need to bring is cordage. And I have here, everybody gets 550 cord, and I definitely have some 550 cord in the backpack, so I'm not showing you anything you don't have. But I'm going to tell you, have some bank line as well. The reason why is this is much thinner. You can have a roll this big, stuff that in your pack, and get hundreds, if not thousands of feet of twine, and it's extremely strong, it's extremely durable. You can cut it to the size you need. You can use, a lot of the survivalists use pre-cut pieces, and they store those in a separate place where they can take out and put up their shelters fairly quickly with these pre-cut pieces that they don't have to continually be using the line and everything. So not only do I recommend the 550 cord, but go a step above and beyond and get some of that bank line to go with it. The next thing I advocate is a candle. That's the next item on the 10Cs. And by candle, I mean a light. So here you see a flashlight. In addition to that, some people will say, well, you don't have a traditional candle. No, I don't. However, one thing I do have that can foot the bill is I keep duct tape, which is canvas tape. I keep that, or cargo tape, if you will. I keep that in my backpack. And if you take some duct tape and roll it up backwards to about 1/4 inch to 1/3 of an inch in width, and you light the top of that on fire, that will burn for a very long time, my friends. That's a good 15-20 minute candle for you, should you need one with a very small flame. So the profile is very, very small, and you're not as likely to get seen, and it will burn for as long, for about 15-20 minutes, and it's a really nifty tool to have and a really nifty idea. Goes again to what I was saying about not only having the materials but knowing how to use them. Next after candle, we have a canvas needle. I think this is one of those times where whomever authored the 10Cs maybe took a little bit of artistic liberty, and that's okay. We know Hollywood and others, artists, they take artistic liberties with things all the time. So the idea is needle and thread, and I keep that in my same container as I keep my fire starting kit because it's very, very small. And as you can see, I cap the needle on both ends with some earplugs, and the reason I do that is so that I don't stab my finger when I am reaching in here. And as you know, the last thing you want to do is stab your finger with a needle, and like a paper cut, that can just be excruciatingly total agony for the littlest, tiniest cut. So I just put a couple of earplugs on either end of that needle so it doesn't stab me, and we're all nice and happy. The next thing is cargo tape. and again, this is probably an artistic liberty. I use duct tape. You can see I wrap it around my bank line. But again, this duct tape, you can use it to tape things together that you need to stick together. Also, as we discussed, you can take a strip less than a foot long, roll it up inside out, make about a quarter an inch to a third of an inch thick roll, and you can light that on fire using your cigarette lighters, and that will burn like a candle for quite a while. So it's very, very useful. Another fire device that I might carry is you go put an older pan on your stove and put some Vaseline in there, put it on low heat, and when the Vaseline melts down, you can dip some cotton balls in that and absolutely saturate the cotton ball in the Vaseline, and you set it up in a little square of aluminum foil and you let it dry, and then when you let it dry, you wrap the aluminum foil up like that to make it into a ball. And what you do is you open the top of that ball and you take the tip of your knife or some other tool and fluff up some of that cotton that's soaked in Vaseline. You light that. I tell you what, every time I teach a bug out bag class, what I'll do is I'll start out with that and I'll light that at the beginning of the class, and those suckers will burn for 30 or 45 minutes. It's a long time, and we'll have everybody check every 4 or 5 minutes when we go over a topic, and they're looking, and people are always amazed by how something that simple can be that effective when it comes to being a fire tool. And so I might keep like a small Ziploc baggie full of maybe a half dozen of those. And the reason why is so that just in case the Vaseline liquefies in a hotter summer day or something like that, it doesn't melt out and run all over the other contents of my bag. So I keep it contained in that Ziploc baggie. After cargo tape comes compass. And you need a compass for navigation. So the compass that I use is this military style Lensatic compass, and it keeps me straight. And the really neat thing is this make is very reliable, and it always keeps me pointed true north. And in case you were ever wondering, true north is that way according to this compass. So if you've ever been watching this video, you wonder which way this is angled at, well, there you go. The last of the 10Cs is the device made of cotton. I use an extra shemagh. I not only wear one on my neck when I'm on a patrol, but I also use an extra one in my pack. And the reason why is the shemagh is a terribly useful tool. It's got a ton of different uses if you just have a little bit of imagination and understanding. First, you can use it like a scarf in the winter, and so it can help keep you warm. Secondly, if you tie it around your neck kind of loose in the summer, drench it with water, it will help keep you cool. Also, I like to have it around the back of my neck so that the strap, the sling from my rifle, doesn't chafe me, doesn't rub me raw in the neck area, and I have that bit of padding in between there thanks to the shemagh. Another thing you can do with it is you can use it kind of like a face mask. If you need additional camouflage and your face is not painted, you can use your shemagh up over your nose and do that. You can even drape it down in front of your face, and so where you have one eye slit and two shemaghs makes that very simple. You kind of look sort of like a tactical ninja, if you will. But you can also use the shemagh as a triangular bandage to put an arm in a sling should somebody hurt an arm or something like that. Just a ton of uses. You can cut off a small piece and make char material, and char material is really good to keep in a tin. And you can bake the char material on the next fire and turn it, bake that material, that cloth, to make char material, and that helps you start your next fire. It helps keep you from having to find and build a complete bird's nest every single time. So not only are you thinking about the current fire, you're also thinking about the next fire. I wouldn't recommend doing that with your shemagh so much as maybe pre-manufacturing a lot of char material using maybe, for example, an old worn out t-shirt or something of that sort. And you can store that again in a Ziploc baggie. It doesn't take up much space, and you can have an absolute ton of char material at the ready, to start your next fire. That's one option as well. But you could use your shemagh for that as well, should the need be pressing. All right, the second thing you might need with your bug out bag are personal items. Personal items. Some of your personal items might be some baby wipes. I really like to carry a set of baby wipes in my bag with me when I go on patrol. Now, a baby wipe can be used to clean yourself. It can be used to help clean a wound should you be wounded. You can take a baby wipe bath out in the field if you're there for a long time, that sort of thing. Just all sorts of uses for a good baby wipe. Men, listen to me carefully. When the baby wipes dry out, because sometimes they're not properly closed, or the bags aren't 100% perfectly sealed, or maybe something punctures the bag in your backpack, that's okay. Don't throw them out. Just take a little bit of water out of your canteen, re-moisten, rehydrate that baby wipe. Give it a moment or two to soak up that water and become pliable. Pull it out and use it. And that way you can keep them dry. It actually reduces the weight of your pack if you do that. And you can just use them on an as-needed basis and just hydrate them as you go. In addition to that, you might need medications. If you have prescription meds, I do. If you're going to be on that long of a patrol, you need to take those medications with you. Prescription meds, as well as something like, you might want some Tums or some sort of antacid. It would not do well to be on a patrol where you're needing to maintain noise and light discipline and you're heaving chunks. That just wouldn't do. So maybe, taking a couple of Tums or some sort of an antacid might help you in that case. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, if you get a fever or if you get, if there's pain involved or something like that, that can really help. Any other little, if you've got allergies, you might want to pack some allergy medication, just whatever you might normally use over the course of a year. That kind of a medication you might want to duplicate in your bug out bag along with you, just in case. Food and water. A lot of people like to eat food, and everybody needs to drink some water. And usually I cap out at about 2 quarts on a patrol. And if I'm going to go longer than that, it becomes exceptionally heavy to carry much more water than that. So if I'm going to go longer than that, I will have the larger bag, and in my larger bags, I have some sort of water purification, water filtration device. You may not always be able to boil the water, but in the event you do, I like having a boil container and I like having a cold container. So if I had a plastic Nalgene water bottle, I could boil the water in my steel container, let it cool, then transfer it to the Nalgene, boil some more water, let that cool. Once it's cooled, everything's good to go. Both of these waters are treated, and just kind of take it like that. And that would be something that if you're out there for a long time, that's probably something you're going to have to do on several occasions. At least once a day, get that half gallon of water in you today at a minimum, especially if you're out and about. So, food is a little bit different, and I'll tell you why. One thing that we all need to do a little bit more of is we could all fast a little bit. Lord knows I could lose some weight. You can too. But as a person who has done some long-term fasting, and by long-term I mean more than just a day or two, I've done 2 9-day fasts and a couple of 7-day fasts. And if I'm going out in the field for less than 3 days, I'm not bringing food. I will bring water, and I'll bring some salt in pre-measured portions. And that is because if I stay hydrated and replace those salts, I can fast for 3 days, no problem. This also helps eliminate, if you'll pardon the pun, the issue of waste, so that having to go to the restroom while you're out is minimized. And that means fewer baby wipes are needed to use to, clean yourself up or what have you. So definitely, if you can do that, or if you can survive on a very modest amount of food, then, let's do that. Especially if you're going to go on a security patrol or something like that where you're only gone 2 hours. I mean, come on, you don't need to eat every 3 hours. That's insane. So, but food and water, that's one consideration. You might pack more clothing. You might pack different clothing. There might be garments that you need in one place, or you might have, like if it's spring or fall, you might need to pack a warm layer to add to your attire, whatever the case may be, an extra jacket, something like that. So that would be something that could go in your pack. Third thing that you need to pack in your bag is mission-specific gear. Now, mission-specific gear is going to vary from mission to mission and from man to man within the patrol. First thing you might need to bring is ammunition. You might carry 3 or 4 loaded mags on your rig and then have a few extra in your pack. That's a good way to carry them. For the communications person, you might carry your larger radio and or other comms materials that you need to make contact with home base or whomever while you're out in the field. If you are the medical person, you might need to bring additional medical equipment. You might need more than just a standard IFAK, in order to treat your fellow patrolmen. So that, especially if you're the medical person, that's going to fall on your shoulders. If you're in a designated marksman or sniper capacity, you might need to bring tools like a rangefinder or binoculars. I would suggest that just about everybody on a patrol needs to bring binoculars just about every time, especially on a civilian patrol. But designated marksmen and snipers might also want to bring a rangefinder so they can range the distance to target so that you can adapt for the correct elevation and either apply a holdover or apply a dial so that you can hit the target correctly. Furthermore, you might want to bring a couple of sniper veils or something like that in order to better camouflage yourself. So those are things that you might need to bring. Maps. You need to get there. You need to get out. You need to have multiple plans to get out, at least 3. And maps of the area are going to be absolutely critical in doing that, so that you'll have a primary exfil, a secondary exfil, a tertiary exfil. And the ability to read those maps, know which way is north, use your compass to find your way, that sort of thing. You've got to have that skill. Last but not least, general tools, things that you might need. If, for example, in the military, some people are breachers, so the breacher might bring a breaching tool. That might be a shotgun, that might be a hammer. There's all sorts of things it might be. On the civilian side, I don't know how much breaching you would ever need to be doing, but that's a possibility. In addition to that, there's a possibility for 1,000 other tools. I tend to keep a Leatherman on my belt on my rig, and if I don't have my rig with me, there's going to be a Leatherman in my pack with me just in case. So, whatever kind of tool you think you might need, and then add a few to it. Some type of a hammering device, definitely screwdrivers, things of that sort, knives. We talked about the cutting tool to begin with, but maybe having a backup, maybe having a small folding knife. One of the tools I carry with me, especially since the vast majority of the patrols I perform or join people on are here in Tennessee, is I have one of those little tick removal devices, because ticks are really bad, and we always do tick checks, and once in a while we find them, and it's worth every check every time you find one. So little tool, less than $10, you can throw that in your pack, and that's definitely something worth having. There's all sorts of tools. There's no way we could talk about them all on one YouTube video, but any other sort of tool that you might need. One that I keep, since I often have to fill the role of a designated marksman or sniper, one additional tool I keep, and it also helps with bushcraft a lot too, is a saw. A folding saw. I've got a really good folding saw. It can make quick work of wood, be it dead wood, live wood, you name it, and that can help me build a hide. That can help me, take some items to create more camouflage, whatever the case may be. But that saw, it's an additional cutting tool, makes life a lot simpler. So, just be thinking in terms of that. What am I likely, what role am I going to be filling in that patrol? And what kind of tools can I bring to make that easier? So, if I were doing some kind of a raid where I'm picking up supplies of some sort, I might want to carry an empty bag so I can take those supplies back with me when I go. That might be one of those things. So, 100 different tools you might need or want, and you should think about that during your mission planning. Put yourself in that situation, think about what am I going to need, what am I going to like, that sort of thing. The people that do a lot of CQB and everything, they love those head-mounted lights. Those tend to be really, really nifty and useful for somebody that's going into a structure that might not have electricity. You might have cut the electricity and be running low light or whatever. So, obviously nods or thermal imaging, that might be helpful as well. All sorts of tools come to mind. So you and your mind is the limit. Well, folks, that about does it for this video. And if you feel I forgot something, put it down there in the comments. If you have an additional tool or item that you bring, leave us a comment. Tell us about it. What do you carry and why? Don't just tell me what you carry, but tell me why you carry it. And with that, I'd like to encourage you to hit like, subscribe, click that notification bell so you can find out when we drop the next video. And I want to remind you, you don't have to be a patriot to train, but you do have to train if you want to be a patriot. Take care.